I'm buying too many books and reading too little.
What we do here is go back.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about all the books that I read for the month of February. I mean, do I even need to say how quickly this year is going once again? I mean, I think we're all on that same like, whoa, where is time going boat. So yeah, I read 5 books in the month of February, which I am so happy with. I have been giving 4 and 5 stars out like they are free candy. And I'm okay with that because there is nothing better than closing a book that you have just loved so much. And that's been the case for the majority of the books last month. I've had 1 4-star, 3 5-stars, and 1 3-star book. All of them of which I enjoyed. Even the 3-star book I enjoyed so much. But yeah, let's get right into the books. The book that I opened the month with was Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield. I buddy read this with my friend Tali from Escape Reality. I forgot her Instagram name, but I will link her Instagram down below. We did this buddy read together. The main reason why I picked this book up was because of the cover. I mean, I fell in love with it, and I really didn't know much other than it had to do with a girl that was found dead and then came back to life, and I was like, yes, and then some other missing girls in the story. This book is very heavily focused on fairy tales, not necessarily fairy tales, I said that wrong, but it is fairy tale written. It reads like a fairy tale. It's very magical in its writing. I fell in love with the writing. It is full of mystery, it's full of suspense, but it's also romantic. We follow the story of about, I believe it's either 3 or 4 families. Like I said, I read this at the beginning of the month, so the details are a little bit scanty in my brain. But we follow 3 or 4 families. At the beginning, it was a little bit confusing following these stories, and that's one thing that even my friend found. I had to almost keep going back and seeing who was who, but later on, like midway through the book, you start grasping the storyline. But basically, one night they're at this inn and they're all saying stories and yeah, telling stories and drinking, and this man appears at the door holding this little girl that is dead. And later on in that night, she comes back to life. So they don't know what the mystery is. They don't know if it's science, if it's magic, or what it is. And then we also follow a story of 2, I believe it's either 2 or 3 other girls that are missing within this town, and the stories of how, then they start the stories of how they came to that night. And you're wondering, is this river full of magic? Is it deadly? What's going on? So it's very suspenseful. It's very intriguing. I don't know if I said the rating already, but I gave this book 4 stars. And I really enjoyed it. The writing was phenomenal. And I hear that is one of Diane Setterfield's trait, is just her art of storytelling, and the way she weaves words is just phenomenal. I found myself at times, although I really did enjoy it, I found myself at times almost like not wanting to pick it up or hesitating to pick it up because it was a little bit slow at times. Although it was suspenseful, there was times where it could be fairly slow. But either way, I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars mostly because of the writing and the way that the story was weaved together. It was beautiful. I don't tend to read beautiful stories like that, or stories that are beautifully written and very fairy tale-esque writing, but I did enjoy that one. Next book I read was my favorite of the whole month. I mean, I hate saying that it was my favorite because there are 2 other books that I rated 5 stars besides this one, and so It's hard to say which one my favorite, but if I had to pick, I would have to say this one. And I can't believe I waited so long to read this one. And that is Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. I read the second book a year ago in January. So a year and 3 months ago. And I love this trilogy so much. Obviously, I can't say much about this book because it is the third book and the final book in the trilogy. And so there's a lot of spoilers. But the overall gist of the trilogy is this girl. She is the hero. There's a villain that they're going up against, the Darkling, which is Heart. Love him. And so, yeah, that's the whole gist. Oppressed, magic, and beating the evil one. But I am such a sucker for this trilogy. I obviously didn't know that I am a sucker for Leigh Bardugo in a whole. She definitely knows how to write a villain. She knows how to make you fall in love with a villain and root for the villain, all the while wondering why you're rooting for the villain. Until later on you stop rooting for the villain. But I love this story so much. I love Delina as a character. I do have a vlog where I read this book. I wanted to document and film me reading this book. The second book made me sob, and this book made me sob. There is something about Leigh Bardugo that just makes me cry. Her writing just makes me cry. I just finished Six of Crows last night, and that was another snotter fest in itself. So yeah, love this book so much. Again, like I said, I can't say much about it because it's the third book in a trilogy. I'm probably the last person on earth that has read this book. Actually, not really, because my friend hasn't read the trilogy yet. And so I'm not the last person on earth, come to think of it. But love this so much. This is definitely a trilogy that I will be rereading. As I say in the vlog, you'll see me snotting in the vlog, by the way. If you want to see me cry, go look at that one. I will link it up on the cards, on the little eye. If you click on it, you'll see all the videos that I suggest watching. But this is definitely one that I'm gonna reread, especially when I finish reading all the other books that are in the Grishaverse. Needless to say, I do have King of Scars down here waiting for me to pick it up, but I want to finish the Six of Crows duology before I do that. Next book I read is The Line Between by Tosca Lee. I think this is part of that vlog as well. This is an arc that I received by the author. This was phenomenal. I ended up giving this book 5 stars as well. This is a thriller but has dystopian-esque vibes to it. Here we follow a girl, and I forgot her name. How can I forget her name? It's like my favorite name ever. Her name is Winter Roth, and she, at the beginning of the book, we see her getting kicked out of a cult that's called New Earth. And her sister, and her mother all came to this cult many years ago. You follow the story of when they come into the cult, as well as you follow her outside of the cult. So it's like told at 2 different timelines. And it is a phenomenal book. When she gets kicked out, there is a disease that is spreading throughout the earth. So she is caught in between, like, oh my gosh, is the end of the world coming? Is everything that they taught me at this cult real? Or is it just, you know, a coincidence, you know? And so you follow her story. She is a kick-ass protagonist. There's action, in this book. There's everything. It is great. This is part of a series. I don't know if it's a duology, a trilogy, I don't know yet, but the second book is coming out September 10th, if I'm not mistaken, and I am definitely pre-ordering it, and I'm actually going to purchase a finished copy of this as well because I loved it so much. And I just think it's very important, if you love a book, especially by an indie author, and that author was so nice to send you an ARC, to support them, you know, because I don't know, that's how they make their living, right? So I really want to support her, and I am gonna buy a finished copy. And like I said, I am pre-ordering. I think it's I forgot the name of the book, but I will leave the link to the Instagram post where she does reveal the second book's title. The fourth book that I read for the month is Verity by Colleen Hoover. This was another 5-star book this month. I mean, I was just reading all the good books this month, wasn't I? This was sent to me by my bookstie Eleni. This is one of her favorite books, and so she wanted me to read it. And I think I've said that on my channel like 10 times already, in between vlogs and stuff. This is the first Colleen Hoover book that I read, and apparently she likes a lot of sexiness, a lot of sexual sexiness, and this was very sexual, extremely sexual, which I'm okay with. You know, sometimes I cringe when I read sexiness, but it's okay. I mostly don't read Colleen Hoover because from my understanding it's a lot of romance novels, romance mixed with smut, and I'm not a very smutty person, but I loved this book. Here we follow a struggling author. She's basically had to stop writing because she had to take care of her mom, and basically became almost like a recluse. How do you say that? Like a person that's just indoors and just stays indoors because of her mom. She had to give her mom around the clock care. Finally, her mom passes away, and she starts basically looking for an opportunity to write, and an opportunity does present itself. She's basically asked to take over a series that an author has already started, but this author has had an accident and can't finish the book. And so she is asked to take over, you know, what she's going to get paid and everything. And she has to go and stay at this author's house, this author with her husband and her kid. And there's just a lot of mysteries going on behind this family. And she uncovers some dark secrets when she is staying there. And it is incredible. If you guys have yet to read this book, please do so. I fell in love with Colleen Hoover's writing. I'm not saying that I'm just gonna go ahead and pick up all her books, because like I said, this is her writing is not a genre that I'm into, but I am interested in one book. I think it's All the Perfects or something like that. Something about perfect, All the Perfect or All the Perfects or something like that. And so I fell in love with this one. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it yet. And that cover is just stunning. And the feel of the book, it's one of these like velvety, kind of velvety, is that the right word? Like this rubbery, velvety kind of cover. Thank you so much to my bookstie for sending this my way and making me fall in love with an author that I haven't ever read before. The last and final book that I read for the month of February was The Winter Sister by Megan Collins. This is just one of these books that I was anticipating, mostly because of the cover. This cover is so like ominous and like dark and like, what's going on? Why is she dead? Is she floating? Is she happy? Is she swimming? What is she doing? It was just one of those books. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. This is a book about a, what is this book about? I forgot. That's mostly why I gave it 3 stars. So this story is about, 2 sisters, Persephone and Sylvie, and it's basically following Sylvie. She is the main protagonist after her sister Persephone goes missing. yeah, she goes missing. She has a lot of guilt for the disappearance of her sister. Her mother basically just shuts down after her sister goes missing. Then come to find out 3 days later, 3 days after she goes missing, she is found dead, and the story starts from there. The sister Sylvie feels a lot of guilt, and like I said, the mother almost goes into like this, like, she just basically loses it. She becomes a drunk, and Sylvie ends up leaving from this town to go to college and to pursue her career, and basically she has to come back because she needs to take care of her mom. Her aunt had been taking care of her mom, watching after her for many years, but the aunt basically has to go and take care of her new grandchild. Her daughter has had a baby, and so she wants to go take care of her, and she contacts Sylvie and says, listen, you need to come home and take care of your mom because I'm not going to be able to do it for a little bit. And so she comes back home with a lot of resentment towards her mom. Secrets start coming out, revealing themselves, and that's the story. Now, while I did love this story, I did really enjoy reading it, it was a little bit slow for me. And when I say it was a little bit slow, I don't want it to be in a negative way. It was slow in a good way. It was one of these stories that you sit down and you just really digest. You know, it's just one of those books that you're like, okay, and you're following the story, but it was predictable. It's just one of the stories it's one of these thrillers that is predictable, and I really did enjoy learning about all the secrets that came out. I loved the relationship between her and her mother. I mean, it was a bad relationship, but when she would go out and reminisce on her childhood, the way that her mom was with her, and the relationship, that loving relationship that they had until the day that Persephone goes missing, was just incredible to read about. It was sad to read about. It was a really good read. It is a really good story, but it was a little bit like forgettable, if you know what I mean. This was the last book that I read last month. So basically I might have finished this book, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago, and it was just something that I had to like refresh my memory of how just forgettable it was. But beautiful cover, and it is really a good book. I know a lot of people enjoyed this, and a lot of people have given this 5 stars. So yeah, that's just where I stand with The Winter Sister. Those were all the books that I read for the munch. What's a munch? A munch? Those are all the books that I read for the month of February. Please let me know down below if you have read any of these books and if you liked them or not. And also let me know what books you read for the month of February and what you suggest I pick up. No, don't suggest any books, because I have too many books on my TBR right now. And I cannot have another book on my physical TBR, because it's just, I have like 3 stacks just sitting over there on a desk that I have. This whole entire little mini shelf that I have here is just full of books I haven't read. And if I get one more suggestion, I think I'm gonna lose it. But I'm just kidding. Leave me your suggestions down below, because it's always good to find out about new books. I also have to read this monstrosity back here, this brick of a book. So yeah. Why am I going out on a tangent here? Like, what's the point of that? Like, this video is over already and I'm still talking and I don't know what I'm talking about. Physical TBRs, books I haven't read. What does that have to do with my wrap up? Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let's chat in the comments down below. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.